Be there in a minute. Good, that's Twitter. Now Discord. Discord. A bit of discourse. Lovely. Right, that's there. Good. That's fun. That's all lovely. I'm not sure what it is with YouTube at the moment, but I think they're currently doing a like a subscriber wipe where it removes like bot accounts from your subscription account and stuff like that. Because I've got like 10 or 12 subscribers lost today, which is rather annoying. But if they're like bots like that, then you could probably understand that. Okay, just wait for a couple more minutes for people to turn up. So I'm late today, by the way. I was around families today, and it went on for a bit longer than I thought it would. Hey, Flair, thank you for playing my game once more. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for popping on by Venus Improbable Dream. I forgot what I was about to say there. So yeah, today we are playing Venus Improbable Dream, and for those of you who are watching, the one in the chat called Venus Improbable Dream made the game, and for me this is one of the most emotional visual novels that I've played on the channel, and ever, actually. Like, this is one of those games that brought me to tears in one or two different scenarios. Definitely one, could be two. Bad Ending 2 springs to mind. Most definitely. Let's see. There's that. So hopefully today we'll be able to go past the $100 mark, because we raised quite a lot of money yesterday for from the Witch's House live stream. So I'm hoping today. I felt so bad when you cried on that bed. No, that means you've done a very good job of writing a powerful story. Like, it's an emotional moment, and if it doesn't have that kind of impact on a player, then it doesn't lose its merit, but it doesn't give additional merit to the game itself. And on a personal level, sometimes I felt like, hi Flair, I remember playing this game at summer. Yeah. Also, this game is not like a fantasy game where it's like out of this world sort of thing in a physical sense. But I thoroughly loved this game. Thoroughly loved playing through the game and seeing all the different outcomes you can get. 4 outcomes, if I remember correctly. It all depends on if you want to do a debut with your friend, or you want to go with your other classmates and sing along with them. Well, not sing along with them, but perform music with them. By the way, since you're playing my game again and doing great stuff for charity, I'd like to play a little game alongside the stream to help out. Yeah, definitely, go ahead. Like, be my guest, absolutely. Also, it's not like I'm joking. Yeah, honestly, it could be anything, as long as it's not like malicious, but I doubt you would do that on your own game, like, honestly. And anybody else watching who would like to take part in the developer of this game's little game, then please by all means get involved in the chat as well, because I love that sort of thing. So we are currently at $96 raised, and I think I've definitely put myself at a huge disadvantage when it comes to my goal there. I was typing it out, and rather than $200, it went to $2,000. Oh wow, it's the first time talking to a game dev. They're like any other person now, except it feels like it's a bit more of an inside sort of thing. Did you see the links I put yesterday, Flair? Where did you put them? Did you put them in the stream itself? Because I didn't get anything from you. Okay, my mysterious game is this. I'll ask you questions about Venus Improbable Dream every now and then, and for everyone you get correct, I'll take that to the course. Oh, great! It feels like I am going to do a disservice here, disservice for a new story, if I get a question wrong. Oh dear. I did tell myself with the Purgatory to Demonic mode that every time I die, I donate $1 to New Story. But I was thinking, okay, maybe I might die a bit too much, so it could be like every time we get to the second stage, that would be a good thing. But I'd love that to be a thing, Venus Improbable Dream, for that to be the case. But I've really got to put my Venus Improbable Dream knowledge to the test, in a way. But yeah. It's like when I go to my load file, it's like, I put them under the Novella Diablos video. Hold on. Okay, that's not it. Let's see, YouTube Studio. And then go down to my comments. I don't see anything. Held for review. Oh, they're under held for review, okay. I see. Okay, I see it. Basically, the reason why it's under held for review is just simply because I don't allow links in comments to automatically load up. But what I will do is I will click on that and then it will appear in my comment section. Lovely days. Okay. No way you'll nail it. I'll let you get into the game a bit first and then begin. Okie dokie. So 5 of us are here right now, and let's begin. So looking at these loads, it's like I played the demo, and I didn't play the demo to its entirety because it was given a certain length, and I must have read it slower than what you should be able to read it as. But I say the words rather than just skim reading it, because that's what some people do. So we got September 24th, 2020, and then we got March 2021. Like, these are all different save files and stuff like that. Ah, that last one there is wholesome. Start. So let's get cracking then. Hemangioma. That intro I've never seen before. Hemangioma. Oh, I didn't mean to click off the screen there. So yeah, hemangioma. That's what my parents told me it was called. A growth of extra blood vessels clumped together to form a tumour. No one knows why it happens. Some people are just unlucky, I guess. Mine started appearing a few weeks after I was born. So for those of you who are watching right now, I strongly recommend this game if you're looking for a kind of more of a more understandable adventure rather than, let's say, an out-of-world complex adventure, because I think emotionally this game is complex, but it's not like lore complex. A slight discoloration of skin, barely noticeable at first, that slowly began to take over my face little by little. They start off flat and grow bigger and bigger with time. After a point, they reach their limit and began to shrink, eventually disappearing altogether. Most children who have hemangiomas lose them by the time they're 10. But unfortunately in this case, as you can see, the protagonist, stayed with him. I didn't. Around the time I started junior high, the doctors started giving me all sorts of medication in order to get it to recede, but there were limited results. The main swollen bulge of the tumour shrank, for the most part, but other than that, nothing changed. I'm still left with a huge dark red patch of rough, rubbery skin on my face. I've got something on my back called 3D scars, and that happened because I had spots spots by default of 3D, but on my back I have scars from those spots where they eventually flattened down, but the scars themselves never healed. They're called 3D scars. I hate it. Surgery was discussed at one point, but considering how close to my eye this thing is, it would be risky. My parents decided against it. They said that I didn't need it, that I could still live a perfectly happy life the way things were, and that was that. Hemangioma and tumor sound like scary words, but in fact, hemangiomas are almost always harmless. Physically harmless, but psychologically overwhelming. Well, not to everyone else. They still are to me, not because of what mine could do to me, but for what it does to other people. I suppose it's like a knee-jerk reaction when you see something for the first time. You don't mean to react to it, but it just happens. You don't choose for it to happen, it just happens. I'm going to pop off for a little bit. Sorry, for a little while, then return with my questions. I can't even begin to recall the amount of times a stranger has gawked at me on the street, or shuddered with repulsion at the sight of my face. The worst part is, yikes, I don't blame them. After a while I began to feel like I deserved it. You did not. You haven't done anything, my mans. Deserved every mean comment, every snarky remark, and every playtime left alone, while everyone else had fun together. They were not right, for goodness sakes, my man. They were all wrong for judging you the way that they judged you just because of a... Okay, let me take that back. Not like it's just because of a mark on you, but they judge you because of a mark on you. You're not ugly. There is beauty behind everything. Except cancer. There's nothing beautiful about that. Every time I see it, touch it, or remember that it's there, I just want to die. My parents used to tell me that it doesn't matter what I look like. That the people who were rude about it were a problem, not me. Exactly. They're the ones who make it a problem. They'd always insist I grow up just the same as everyone else. But how can I hold a conversation with somebody with them staring at the monstrosity on my face? I figured out pretty quickly that there was no point in trying to be normal. Someone like me could never fit in with any group of friends. They'd only keep me around so that I could be the butt of everyone's jokes. But when has that ever happened physically? I started doing everything I could to not be noticed. I put the absolute minimum effort into everything. I taught myself to be invisible. Yes, I felt lonely and isolated, but it was better than being picked on. That's just the way I have to live my life now. I might be 17 and almost ready to face the real world, but as long as I have this hemangioma, and I keep pronouncing it wrong as time goes on, I'll never be able to face anything. Not even my own face. Damn, what a way to say about it. I can't face my own face. Chapter 1, Curiosity. Curiosity kills a cat after all. And in class, just another day. The other students around me are sharing whispered chatter. As usual, I sit right at the back of the room, so I can see everybody else in the class. More importantly, they can't see me. It's one of my safety barriers. You tend to make a lot of them when you have a problem like I do. It is a physical thing, but I would say a huge amount of it being a quote-unquote problem is how you perceive it, and how you perceive other people's perception of it. Glancing back at my workbook, I let my eyes comb over the questions again. I've answered them all, but the incessant there's a girl in high school I knew that had something similar to what he went through. Like, I don't know how to respond to this kind of thing because I've never had it myself, but the only way I can describe it is indescribable. Because on an empathetic level, it is indescribable, but sympathy-wise, it's like, I kind of get why people think that way. It's like, they feel like they're ugly. On the inside, people are just as beautiful as somebody who doesn't have it. Hello, Max here, welcome to the stream. It usually plays out this way. I've never exactly been smart. The difference was that it wasn't a growth, it was a skin issue where she was always... Wow, red, peeling skin. picking on it doesn't help. Sorry, picking on it doesn't help. What was I in the sentence? I just put my head into my schoolwork. Thanks to this, I've never had any issues with low grades. The last thing I'd want is to be called out for not putting enough effort. Wouldn't really help with the whole not being noticed thing. With nothing else to do, I let my gaze move to the window move out of the windows to my left. It's early June, so rainy season is probably going to hit us soon. The sky isn't exactly cheerful, turning more and more grey by the day, but at least it's warm. I'm glad at the moment that it's cooler. Like, for people like me who do like this kind of thing, I prefer it colder than hot, because I cannot stand the heat when doing this kind of thing. It's just so constricting. Don't forget to read through pages 198 to 204. It is quite a burden when you feel ashamed of simply existing. Again, that is down to one's own perception of oneself. Like, do you feel that you are burdened because you feel like people are judging you? Or do you think that people are judging you? Okay, let me go back to Masamoto Sensei. Don't forget to read through pages 198 to 204 before the next class. You will be asked questions about it. Matsumoto's sensei's voice is so loud in comparison to the hush of the room, I almost flinch. It's a commanding voice. His instruction must mean that the bell is about to ring for lunch. Looking up at the clock on the wall confirms it. Quietly, I start to pack my things away. My classmates aren't in the same hurry, as they tend to linger for a while, gossiping and doing whatever it is that friends do before heading to the cafeteria. You won't catch me doing either of those things. I have my own little ritual that I do every day. After finding a secluded spot, not long after I first came to the school, I've always eaten there alone. Fun fact, in Chinese, sensei means Sir, Mr. and Mr. again. Oh dear, I just said the same thing twice. Yeah, I did think that sensei was like a superior to you of the male gender. I've always eaten there alone, away from prying eyes. It's more comfortable that way. Thinking about it makes me even more anxious to get there and enjoy at least an hour of peace before I have to come back to another room full of people. Remember, it's Wednesday, so you've got your science quiz coming up after lunch. The classroom erupts in a collective groan. I think I'm the only person who doesn't object. Hoisting my bag onto my soldier shoulder, and leaning forward to my seat, I find myself staring at the clock, watching the second hand tick by, waiting for the first acceptable moment to leave the room. The wait feels impossibly drawn out, but eventually the hands synchronize on the hour. Did you always used to do that at school? Rather than focus on the lesson, you just look at the clock, looking as time just slowly ticks by. The thing is though, if you're not absorbed into the subject, it feels longer because you're not interested in the subject and you're just looking at the clock. And then your teacher asks you a question, you're like, what was you talking about? Fun fact, always listen to your teacher. The bell rings out shrilly, unless of course it's the teacher from Miso, and don't listen to him. In the corridor, acting like the starting gun of a race, I stand up from my seat before anybody else does, turning towards the door, grateful to escape the discomfort of the crowded room. I would be absorbed into the lesson because most students would skip. Like in my school, it's kind of like a half and half thing. Like, half of us were absorbed into the subject, myself included, but there's the other half that didn't really go to school for learning. They just went there for the social interactions. But they always make it so that it's a less bearable time trying to learn, because you just hear your right ear having loads of different voices and your left ear just silent. Like having one side more heavy than the other is just an imbalance sort of thing. However, just as I'm taking my first steps, another sound echoes across the classroom, coming from the opposite direction. Agony. My entire body freezes in place. I'm not in trouble, am I, sir? The teacher never calls on me. I'm the unremarkable kid who gets decent grades and never says a word. What does he want with me? I struggle to twist my rigid limbs back towards the front of the classroom, highly aware of many students glancing at me as I do. This is exactly the kind of thing I hate. There's nothing in the world that I want to do more than just run out of the room, but I guess I can't. Fixing my eyes on the floor in a desperate attempt to ignore I was lucky to be the last set of students graduate before the you-know-what world issue happened. I see. The thing that happened throughout the entire world that we all know of but shall not be spoken. I'll give you a clue. It's a guess of it's the name of an alcoholic drink and has 19 afterwards. It's a shortened version of that name of a drink. Fixing my eyes on the floor, I think I've already read that. I forced myself to walk up to Matsumoto Sensei's desk. To be honest, I'm surprised that he called on me like that in front of everyone. He's the one who let me sit behind the rest of the class, and who never makes me answer a question or read a passage from a book. He knows what I'm like. My anxiety has always been something that was just accepted since I came to the school. You are indeed correct. I think as long as my work is good, they'll let it slide. As I reach his desk, I take a lightning-fast glance backwards at everybody. The noise level in the room has gone up considerably. Friends starting to gather in groups and talk among themselves, and others are leaving the room to get lunch. It gives me the slightest bit of relief to know that I'm no longer the center of most people's attention. Still uncomfortable, I let Matsumoto Sensei's eyes I meet his eyes to briefly let him know that I'm ready to listen to whatever it is that he wants to say. Believe it or not, I still have a troublesome time being the center of attention. But I think that 95% of that kind of center of attention is when everybody is looking at you within the same room. Like this right here, people watching me, it doesn't feel like people watching me, but at the same time, it still is the case that people are watching me. But it's the physical thing that makes me feel so like overwhelmed. It's like doing a PowerPoint presentation at university or college if you're in America, and my knees shake and I can't stand presentations at all. But it's one of those things where it's like, as long as you are equipped with the knowledge that you put into the presentation, you don't read from the presentation, you read from your notes, or you put bullet points so that you get information out of it. And what you do is you look directly at your audience, not staring into their eyes, but looking directly in front of you, so that it looks like you have control of the presentation, rather than having your body just stilted to the side, even though your head feels like you want to go anywhere else other than the presentation. Anyways, let's continue with a story rather than my own little story. Hopefully this will be quick. Acne, I've got a proposition for you. A highly unusual start to a conversation. The school has been in touch with your parents. We're all a little concerned about your progress here. Public speaking was scary to me growing up, but once I turned 15 I grew a bit out of it because people always made fun of me anyways. As for college, secondary school or like middle school, stuff like that, I feel like that's the time when people are at their most like judgmental stage. But when you go to college/university, people become less judgmental because they've grown up and they've come to terms and accept that people are different. Because you love public speaking doesn't mean that somebody else loves public speaking. So you can't sit there like, well, why is this person being nervous? Why can't they do a presentation? I can do it, so why can't they do it? But then again, that same person could probably do something that you can't. Like, I don't know, doing something in science, for example, when it comes to mixing formulas together, or mixing chemicals together, that doesn't allow a huge reaction of sorts to allow an explosion to take place. Kind of that sort of thing. We get to learn that we have all have strengths and weaknesses. My progress? You don't mean my grades? No, your social progress. Your work is quite satisfactory, but there's been talk about your interactions of with other students, sorry, or lack of, should I say. His facial expression grows a bit awkward for a second. Let's see, it was me and another student out of 4+ people to do a presentation. Okay. Yeah, group presentations can be a bit of a hit and miss. Which part do you read in the presentation itself? Before he regains his usual serious gaze, he's probably not used to having to talk about these kinds of things. I thought that my solitary ways have been glossed over in the light of my decent schoolwork, but I guess I couldn't hide my problems forever. I understand that you have issues. There's no point in going into them now. It's self-explanatory. Everyone else was hiding. So, from reading that, it sounds like you was the only one that was doing the presentation for them. Either out of spite, or for the fact they were too nervous to help you with the group presentation. Like, it's always either one of two ways when it comes to these things. They're doing it out of spite, or they're doing it because they're nervous to do it. Too nervous to do it. Yeah, the issues are self-explanatory, Matsumoto Sensei. I thank him silently inside my own head. The other teachers and your parents are worried about your future, Akane. What you'll do once you leave school. It would be very difficult for someone of your nature to succeed in life. You understand? I know exactly what he's talking about. The thought of graduating and having to find some way of supporting myself, integrating myself into society, getting a job, it's too much to handle. Instead of facing up to it, I simply throw myself into the present moment, living in some sort of fantasy that it'll never get to that point. I know I'm wrong, of course, but it's all I can do to keep myself going for now. I nod tensely, and he exhales, seeming to have a lot on his mind. A suggestion has been put forward that may help you with this. Something for you to try out. Majority of it was read by me because a good portion of the class either was English second language or were nervous. Okay. Yeah, I never considered that. Like, were the other students, were they foreign so that they didn't have English as their primary language? So some points they couldn't read out. So, something for you to try out. I don't like where this is going. If my parents think I'm enrolling into some kind of therapy group or get doped up on anxiety medication. You used to play the piano, didn't you? Huh? What's that got to do with anything? Well, just listen, Akane. Yes? I mumbled the word quietly, still bemused. Of all the things I was expecting him to say, that wasn't one of them. Your parents tell me you quite enjoyed it as a younger child. Enjoyed is probably too strong of a word. I took up the instrument as something to do, since I never really had any friends to hang out with. I don't know why I chose the piano. It could have been anything really. It could have been a harmonica, a violin, a guitar. It could have been the microphone, like singing. I had private lessons for a while. It was a half-decent way to pass the time. Oh god, piano, that hits close to home. Did you learn piano as well? I am Nana. Like, I've got fingers adequate for pianos. Like, long fingers are really helpful when it comes to playing piano because you can really reach for those keys that are far away. Although I never really put my heart and soul into it. After a while, I just lost interest. Besides, it's kind of impossible to practice when you don't have a piano at home. Yeah, also pianos are not what you would call cheap. Like, they're like a few £100 at the very least, and that's not like a decent one. That's just like having a piano, but like half decent ones or really good ones, like they're like multiple hundreds of pounds, if not £1,000, and that's Great British Sterling pound, not US dollars. Speaking of US dollars, in the description below, there is a link where you'll be able to donate to a charity called New Story, and they specialize in building houses using 3D printing technology so that people in less economic developed countries, like in South American countries, they will be able to have affordable homing using these 3D printed technology homes. So if you've got $1 to spare and it is like as little as $1, then please by all means donate. Of course, I started back in 2009, then I stopped going to lessons, and in 2012, 2013, I went back into lessons and stopped because I was going to middle school and I wasn't adjusting to time. Sometimes when it comes to adjusting for different situations, you gotta make sacrifice, and that sacrifice is you stopped playing the piano. So where was I in the sentence? I'm just gonna presume that we've already read it. I still don't understand why this is relevant to my anxiety. It's a way of, not distraction, but offering some peace of mind. How would you like to try it again? I glanced up at him after hearing his question, and he has an unsettling mixture of concern and optimism in his eyes as he searches my face for a reaction. Hypothetically, if this game ever had voice acting, I would love to voice for Matsumoto-sensei. It's been suggested that you join the music club as an after-school activity. I think it's the fear in my eyes that caused him to avert his gaze for a moment. My teacher, the one from 2012-2013, was a trained soprano and would teach vocal lessons on top of the piano, and the songs we would play Is My Immortal and Let It Be from the Beatles. Okay. The music club. I've never joined a school club in my life. A room full of people expected to work together in close proximity to make something happen is the complete opposite of what I want. I want everything to stay the way it is. I want to sit back of a class and scrape by, unnoticed by everyone else. How on earth could someone like me join a club? It is incredibly simple. You join the club. I'm just kidding. Like social anxiety and all that, it will be a huge obstacle for you to go over. I hope we make it to a point where Kakuro barges into Haruka's room. It was kind of comical. So would that be like the first time that they meet, or at some point during the game? I'm trying to think where, because I don't think that at any point in the game they ever went upstairs. Like, they were always downstairs at Kakeru's place. Oh, Haruka's place, I mean, sorry. So yeah. How on earth could someone like me join a club? Matsumoto-sensei clearly notices my internal panicking and tries to come across more gently as he continues. I understand that this is a difficult concept for you, Akane. The issue is that the longer you remain like this, the harder it will be to break out of it. Yes, it is a cycle in its own way. You build up something as time goes on, and it doesn't just become something that is occasional, but it's constant. Yet the first time where Akane accidentally walked in when Kaku was practicing flute, I think, yeah, we'll definitely get up to that point. I'm planning on playing till, you see the clock up there, I'm planning on playing this game up until 9:30, or something along those lines. I know he's right, I just can't stand it. All we'd like you to do is attend one session with the music club, to start with. See how you like taking up the piano again. You never know, it might prove to be a good experience. They don't have a pianist as far as I'm aware. They'll probably be very pleased to have you join the group. A disgusting-faced hermit who hasn't practiced his instrument for years and can't hold a conversation with anyone. Oh yeah, sure, but they do not look at you for your face, my man. They look at you for what you could provide to the club. Your talent, your instrumental talent. Not because of what you look like or how you look like or how you perceive yourself that you look like. If you just judge someone from the outside, you never know what they're like on the inside. That's called prejudice. But then again, you could judge someone from the inside before even getting to know them. That's also prejudice. With every second that passes, I plunge further and further into disbelief that this is happening. As calm as Matsumoto-sensei is, I get a feeling that I'm being told to join the music club. I'm back. Are you ready for your first question of our game? Go right ahead, Venus Improbable Dream. That I'm being told to join the music club rather than asked. I think Matsumoto Sensei is calling it a recommendation rather than being like, you better get to this club or you're going to be arrested or something like that. Like it's not an avoidable fate. Your name has been passed on to Kudo, the club's advisor, so he knows you'll be attending. This fact proves my suspicion exactly. I'll start easy. The very nice thing is if you know the music alphabet you can play most instruments. But it's kind of like its own language. It's like learning a second language like French, German, Spanish, Portuguese, Italian, American if you could call it that. Is it possible for them to ever be dangerous? I'm going to guess no. Like, it's more of a skin condition, but it's not a life-threatening thing. Although for me, this is not an easy question. Oh dear. Like, if you ever put me... Okay, somebody just donated $1. Let's see who this personnel is. Overview. Anonymous just donated $1. Thank you so much to whoever did that. Okay, they are never dangerous. Okay, so I was right, because I'm thinking it's a skin condition, but it's nothing that is dangerous. Like, there are conditions out there which are visually what you'd feel like are dangerous, but they're never going to be something that impedes on your ability to live. It's nothing like pneumonia or the you-know-what virus or the flu or anything like that. If I were you, I'd head over there today after school. The quicker you begin, the quicker you can start to make progress. I'm sure your parents will be very excited to see how it goes. You know when an event comes up, but nobody has ever told you about the event? It's like, okay, the plan's been put into place. You've been informed by them that you are going, but one thing that doesn't happen before you are told that you are going to it is you don't get the heads up. You're told that you're going to this event and the people behind that event have heard that you have agreed to it, but you've never actually agreed to it. I hope you can see what I mean. It's like you're not informed and given a choice. You're just forced to go to it. And this feels like that scenario. Although, in this scenario, I would say if the swing of motions were never put into place, then Acne would have more inclinations of not going there in the first place. I'm sure they will. I can't believe they volunteered me for this without asking me, because I think they know you would just say no outright. My thoughts threaten to consume me entirely, but I can view Matsumoto Sensei's eyes boring into my face, waiting for some sort of answer. My skin starts to prickle, and my stomach jitters. I want to say no, but considering everything he said, I don't think it's possible. Damn. Squeezing my eyes shut and accepting my circumstances grudgingly, I nod my head. I'm not looking at him, but I can feel him relax. Great news. I'll send a message to Kudo. This could be the start of something very beneficial for you. Music is something that you don't judge a character because of what they look like. But you could judge them by how they play. I hear him step aside, collecting his things together at his desk, and I take this as an indication that our conversation is over. Prizing my eyes open again, I almost hope that this has all been a bad dream and that I'll wake up in my bed. No, this is not Umaniki where you can just pinch your cheek and be done with it. That's not the case at all. That's just not it. It just ain't it. The class comes hazily back into view. It's real. A little too overwhelmed to think properly. I coerce my legs to work again, propelling me towards the door. Let's just focus on getting to my safe spot first. Agony. I hold myself again at the sound of my own name being called once more. My nerves somewhat froze. I don't turn around, simply waiting for him to speak again. What he says is something I can't bring myself to fathom as a possible reality. No one's going to laugh at you. Exactly. And whoever laughs at you, they're the problem, not you. Like if somebody judges me because I have a beard if I wear glasses, nah, that's their problem because they're the ones who are making or trying to get something out of me for that. Just ignore the haters. Ignore the haters and they will eventually stop trying to bully you because they're not getting what they want out of you, and that is a reaction. And also, don't stoop to their level as well. If they bully you, don't try and bully them. The hour since Matsumoto Sensei's announcement has passed both agonizingly slow and far too fast. I can see why that's the case, and I don't think my inner monologue has been this loud inside my own head for a long time. Part of me still doesn't want to believe the truth, but multiple times I've had to force myself to face reality. I have been put forward to try out the music club regardless of how I feel about it. My parents put me up to this, without even saying a word, knowing how horrifying it would be for me. Good parents will never see their child as a disappointment. It doesn't matter what you do. You, to your parents, will never be a disappointment. And any parent that judges their child as a disappointment is a disappointment as a parent, because they misjudged their child, because they never believed in their child, because they feel like their child is a disappointment. You're not a disappointment, Agony. You have never been. You never will be. And you haven't been. I don't blame him for want. You are a normal child. You're as normal as any other child. Someone who's outgoing and makes friends easily is what every other set of parents has, but they should know by now that it's never going to... Like... I just want to grab hold of Agony and say that you can do this. You can definitely do this. This music club situation is precisely the type of thing I try to avoid. Every time I try to practice the singing, I'm terrified by what I see. A bright room, packed with friends who know each other well, all turning to face me in silent horror as I walk in. They would not do that, too afraid to look anybody in the eyes. Though I try to suck it up and just play the piano, I make a complete mess of it. Severely out of practice, everyone gets frustrated. Guess what? Everybody starts out on the instrument that they want to play on their first try. If I get my words out correctly, that would be a good start. The advisor tells me I'm not good enough. I freak out, trying to endure everybody's stares. Panic attack ensures. Total humiliation. That's what I imagine will happen. And yet I can't bring myself to run away. The expectations of my parents and the teachers keep me chained to my obligation, so I carry on walking towards the music club room. My legs feel like they're made of lead as I force myself to take a step after step. The closer I get to my destination, the further out of my comfort zone I become. To achieve success in life, sometimes you have to go outside of your comfort zone, because you would never know what it's like to improve if you don't take risks. The door looms ominously in front of me. Lean towards it. I'll listen to the sounds coming from within. Many voices chatter animatedly, though I can't gauge from the noise alone how big the group must be. Several instruments are strummed, plucked or blown occasionally so. It sounds exactly like the kind of place I don't belong. You belong in a lot of places. Fear threatens to engulf me for a moment, and I close my eyes, swallowing my nerves as best I can. Just do it, Kakeru. Just get through this one meeting, That's what Masamoto Sensei had asked of me. Attend one session with a music club to start with. Exactly. Start with baby steps. What you're doing right now is the biggest step, and that is going to it. If you didn't succeed in the first step, you would not have seen what your possibilities were, because you would have just outright ran away. All I have to do is fumble my way through this, however god awful it may be, and then I can go back to Matsumoto Sensei and tell him that it's not for me, and I'll never have to see any of these people again. He can't be mad at me for trying. It's what he told me to do. It's what he thinks is best for you and your social skills. Like academics, that's one aspect in life. That is only one aspect of succeeding in life. Taking the deepest breath I possibly can. I do everything in my power to steady myself before pushing the door open slowly. And here we are, in this scene. It's loud in here. Though most conversations continue in the wake of my arrival, a few people turn to look at me. I automatically drop my gaze, swiveling slightly so that I almost have my back to them. I can see the club's advisor out of the corner of my eye, sitting to the side of the group, wanting to get this whole ordeal over with. I start shuffling towards him. He stands up as soon as I begin to move, probably having noticed my clumsy entrance straight away. Hello there. Ah, Akane Kakuru, was it? I nod awkwardly, not quite able to say anything just yet. My nerves need to stop making me feel sick first. Welcome to the music club. You've come to us at a good time, actually. Our last pianist dropped out a few months ago. We've been hoping to find another one, but haven't had any luck until now. I sneak a little glimpse at him. He seems a bit more easygoing than the other teachers, not as well presented as Matsumoto Sensei. His lopsided grin almost makes me relax ever so slightly. I think that's what he's trying to convey, a welcoming environment. He is smart, but he's like more casual smart, semi-smart. However, I can't help but laugh internally at his enthusiasm. I'm sure he won't be as keen on me once he sees how... We all start from somewheres, mate. We're not just naturally a master pianist on our first day. He pauses for a moment, seeming to be waiting for me to say so, but I still can't bring myself to open my mouth. I manage the occasional single word to Matsumoto Sensei, having known him for years, but Kuno Sensei is new territory. After a moment, he straightens up, apparently realizing he's going to have to take the lead. He turns to face the other students, and for a moment, I begin to dread the inevitable class introduction. Everyone will definitely be staring at me then. They're looking at your eyes, not at your How do you pronounce that again? It was at the beginning of the game. Like, the actual word was broken down. I begin to dread the Okay, everyone will definitely be staring at me then. They're not looking at you for your condition, they're looking at you for who you are. Through your eyes. In your eyes. However, after glancing back at me briefly, he seems to decide against it. Seeing how tense I am, my whole body throbs in relief. Alright everyone, it's Himangioma. I'm very good with words. Oh dear. Like, every occasion people in the comment section belittle me for my ability to pronounce certain names, and I'm like, really? Do you not have anything better to do other than floor me for my pronunciation of a name? Anyways, Himangioma. He claps his hands as he speaks, and the tangle of students take notice immediately, extracting themselves from their friendship groups and taking their places. Everyone seems very obedient. Or perhaps they just really enjoy the music club and can't wait to get started. I'm sure my presence has something to do with it. First of all, I'd like you to show our newest recruit what you're capable of. I think we'll have the batch piece. Sorry, the batch piece, please. A few eyes moved to land on me briefly, but overall nobody seems to question why I haven't introduced myself to the club. As they shuffle through their sheet music, I find myself praising whatever gods may or may not exist for the fact that no one has tried to talk to me. Kudo-sensei drags an extra seat over from the back of the room, gesturing for me to sit down. Thankfully it's not too close to the group, so I'll be able to feel somewhat separated from things while I watch them. I take the seat properly, wanting to get out of the way. After a few moments of preparation, a sudden hush falls over the room. Alright everybody, ready? He raises arms in order to count everybody in, a thin, white conductor's baton in his right hand. I'd be so focused on shrinking down into my chair I haven't even noticed him pick it up. On his signal, the group began to play. The noise fills the room instantly, jarring me a little, but the longer it goes on, the more I'm able to calm myself down. With everyone focused on what they're doing, there's no opportunity for them to look at me. The piece they're playing sounds nice, although I know basically nothing about classical music. That's homework. Unfortunately, I get the theme that it's the main focus of this club. With nobody's attention on me, I managed to peek at the students properly for the first time since I entered the room. There are 15 of them in total, 2 clarinet players, 1 I don't know how to pronounce that player, 2 trumpet players, 1 trombone player, 5 violinists, 2 viola players, and 2 cello players. It's ironic because yesterday we played a game called The Witch's House MV, which has a character called Viola in it. I don't think a group of this size technically counts as an orchestra, but they still seem to be doing a decent job of playing the piece nonetheless. My gaze falling to rest at my feet again, I begin to feel a terrible sense of foreboding. A bow, okie dokie. With my troubles of pronouncing words, I try and read it as how it's spelled, because the English language is very, very friendly towards people who have trouble pronouncing words. Oh dear. It's such an irony that you're trying to pronounce words and you're unable to pronounce word. My gaze falling to rest of my... I hate myself sometimes. Why can't I just read words properly? It's obvious that these people have been playing their instruments for quite a while and practice regularly. I actually can't exactly remember exactly how many years it's been since I touched the piano. My eyes drift over to the back of the room, where the music club's piano sits, having been temporarily neglected. Supposedly, that's a very expensive instrument and sometimes it might give you a hernia. I love how determined you are with your gaming and narration despite your struggles. You're inspirational, honestly. Thank you so much. Like, hearing that from people is really refreshing because people feel that I'm possibly inspiring, but I don't get that kind of feedback that often. So, that is honestly really heartwarming. Thank you so much. My eyes drift over to the back of the room, where the music club's piano sits, having been temporarily neglected. Okay, I've already read that. It's a huge black grand piano. Must have cost a fortune. I slip my hands into my pockets tensely, as if that will prevent me from having to attempt to play the thing. Yes, I'm ready for another question. Exhaling slowly and trying to ride out the fresh wave of nerves that causes room, I sit and listen to the rest of a group performance. What's very cool is how we both speak English, yet in America and overseas we spell colour differently. Yeah. It's, gosh, is now you've got me confused because is the English version of Color with a U, or is the American English version of Color with a U? Now that's got me jarring. Like I know that like Europe English is with an S, but with Americans it's a Z with certain words. So I sit and listen to the rest of the group performance. Once it's over, Kudo-sensei praises their efforts, giving them some short snippets of feedback. He then gestures towards a couple of the taller boys in the group, asking them to help him move a piano. This game has 7 famous classical pieces in it. Can you name any 2 of them? Oh no. Oh, you got me stumped there. I thought British English spelt colour with a U letter. Google for colour or colour. Oh, colour without the U is spelled in the United States. Colour is used in other English-speaking countries. Okay, that's that one out of the way. I know there's one piece that was mentioned so many times within the game. It was one in which Akane was learning. Because of my inability, the composers don't matter, and think about the pieces mentioned in the various endings. I've actually forgotten the actual songs that were like played in the endings. Venus Improbable Dream. So stumped. I am completely stumped. Oh no. I feel so bad for not remembering these things. And I'm not going to cheat by looking up my own videos. Like, what could they be called? Like it was even like stated in like when the protagonist was doing homework at home that he was listening over to a particular play over and over again. Sign language, on the other hand, is a very different animal. Yep, definitely is. Although the one thing about sign language is it's universal, so it doesn't matter. I think this is the case, please do correct me if I'm wrong, is that sign language is a universal language worldwide. So it doesn't matter if it's in English, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Portuguese, French, etc. That sign language is a universal thing worldwide. Kind of like a programming language sort of thing. That's kind of universal if everything is within the same programming language. But yeah, I'm stumped on that question, I'm not going to lie. I can't even say one of them. But yeah, oh, I accidentally clicked unmute on my preview there. As they make their way to the back of the room, I feel my stomach begin to sink within me. God damn it, MKKM, you don't have to rinse that over me. I'm just kidding, by the way. What was the previous thing? Hold on. As I make my way to the back of the room, I feel my stomach begin to sink within me. As I can't answer this question, I can't even name one of them. Can't I just carry on watching? I feel like if I play this game more recently, I'll be able to recall the songs. But I haven't played this game. I'll accept an audience answer too if you know. Thank you, audience. I swear, if people answer this question and they're going to put it in the comments, I'll be like, okay, I get it. That was when it was. There's nothing in the world that can convince me that whatever it's about. I think there are with certain signs like the I love you one, where you put your pointer finger, pinky, and thumbs up. Yeah, exactly. You're welcome to answer, MKKM. This isn't just for me to answer. It's for everybody watching involved that can answer. Anyways, let's play the game. That alone is going to alienate me from them massively. Never mind my screwed up face. I hear the quiet squeak of the piano's wheels as it rolled across the room and into place, and the scruffle of students moving to make space for it. But I can't bring myself to look up. None of those come to mind. Yeah, I don't think any of those songs come to mind. It's like I'm trying to find a rough spot where it could fit within the game, and... Oh, my bad. I was looking at the wrong thing. No, I didn't even look at the app part. Anyways, I'm moving on. Me and my inability to read a word correctly. The sound of the instrument itself rings out briefly as someone plays a chord on it. Probably to make sure that it's still in tune. Alright, Akane, she's all yours. He shoots the words at me casually, trying to help me feel at ease. My eyes are cast so far down that they're almost closed, They are almost closed, my bad. But I can still feel the horrible prick of 16 faces all gazing at me simultaneously. Please don't look at me. Please don't make me do this. My heart beats loudly in my head, and I struggle to swallow. My mouth suddenly dry as a bone. Trying to find some sort of focus, I recall what I'd said to myself outside the club room's door, which had pushed me to come in here in the first place. I'm only doing this once. I don't know any of these people. It's not like I'll be stuck in class with them for the rest of our school lives. They won't be there to constantly remind me of how badly I messed this up. Come on, Kakeru. Just once. Just this once. I force my body to spring up out of my chair before it has a chance to do anything else. The silence is deafening. Almost louder than the music they'd be playing a minute ago. I make my way awkwardly to the piano, taking a seat on the stool in front of me. I almost got all of that sentence correct. I'd expected to hear whispering, people gossiping about me, trying to figure out what the hell is wrong with me, but the room is completely void of any noise whatsoever. Unsure of whether this is a good thing or not, I'm doing my best to settle into my seat. Now, your homeroom teacher told me you'd have private lessons as a youngster. Have you played the piano at all recently? No, sir. They're all waiting expectantly. I've got to make some sort of effort. No, not... My words dry up. Luckily, Kudo-sensei just starts talking again as if I'd said a full sentence. Well, that's alright. None of us were musical prodigies when we started it, exactly. A quiet laugh ripples around the group, and though this situation is still excruciating, I appreciate the slight break in the atmosphere it provides. Hey, I said more than one word this time, just about, and that in itself is a step forward. Let me grab you some sheet music, and we can see how you get on with it. He half jogs over to a table at the edge of the room, which looks as though it's got several stacks of books on it. After finding what he wants, he brings it over to me, placing it on the piano's music stand. There, I've chosen the piece they've just played, since you've already heard it once. Are you familiar with sight reading? I nod. My old piano tutor always made me practice sight reading at home, so I could at least develop that skill while I was away from the piano. Great, take a minute to look over it before we play. He nods at the rest of the group, and they take the hint, breaking into quiet conversations in order to give me a chance to familiarize myself with the music. Sheet music, yeah. Yesterday in the Witch's House stream, we had to involve ourselves with a music sheet, although we didn't play it because that would involve death. I'm just picturing it right now. That piano in front of us, somehow it could gobble us up. I look up at the pages in front of me, but before I could really absorb anything, lines and spaces, Kudo-sensei moves a little closer to me, leaning down slightly. Don't worry, Akane. Everybody has a shaky start. No one's expecting a masterpiece. I glance briefly at him, and he smiles in a relaxed manner before striding away towards Witch's House crossover, exactly. We've already done a Doki Doki Literature Club crossover once with that one scene with Kakeru. Oh no, wait, with Haruka, there we go. He really does seem to be going out of his way. I'm just thinking, like, there's a black piano right in front of us, and guess what the Witch's House had? A black piano. He really does seem to be going out of his way to try to put me at ease, although I get the feeling that his casual nature is quite genuine. Yeah, that was a funny spoof video. Casual nature is quite genuine, pulling my focus back to the task at hand. I had fun making that. I look over the sheet music. What the hell's going on here? Oh gosh, and I can even see the preview of my stream losing frame. Not losing frames, but losing quality. I'm getting quality at 240p, that's no good. Hope it doesn't last long. I hate technological issues. Like I've got enough issues with me trying to pronounce the sentence correctly. After what feels like only seconds, Kudo-sensei claps his hands again, calling the room back to attention. A massive rush of anxiety charges through my stomach. You're back now. You did get stuck for a moment, but I refreshed and you're back to normal. Thank you very much for the clarification, Venus. It sounds like I'm talking to a plant. Unintentionally. Alright. Hold on, did I read that? After what feels like only seconds, Kudo-sensei... Okay, I've already read it, actually. A massive rush of anxiety charges through my stomach. Alright, I think we're ready to start. Remember to keep firmly to tempo all the way through. We don't want to take Akane on a runaway train ride. Train ride. Blah. Another laugh hits the air. Louder this time, and then everyone sits down, readying their instruments. I feel as though my nervous breathing is so loud it's going to put people off, hovering my shaky hands over the keys. I hope for some sort of miracle to get me through this. Time seems to pause as Kudo-sensei's hands remain fixed in the air, the baton in his grasp once more, and then he moves it fluidly, counting everybody in. So for today, folks, we've only raised $1, which is by an anonymous person, so thank you very much to that person for doing that. But can we break $100 in this stream? That's what I would like to happen, to break $100. And in the description of this stream, you'll be able to find a link to News Story, or to my campaign for News Story, and from there you'll be able to donate like $1, $2, however much you can spare. I will be stopping at 9:30, so that would be 21:30. Oh god, this is horrible. I'm talking about the situation, by the way, with Akane and his perception of this situation. My eyes jerk erratically between the sheet music and my hands, trying to keep track of everything at once, and my fingers feel so wooden, I can't move them properly. Exactly as I expected. Just this once. That's why I keep telling myself over and over again as I plunk my way through what is possibly the most awkward and unappealing piano performance of all time. It seems to go on forever, and when it finally comes to a close, my whole body crumples in on itself, exhausted despite barely doing anything. I don't even dare to imagine what everybody must be thinking. I simply sit there, eyes in my lap, bracing for impact. When Kudo-sensei speaks again, I almost flinch. Alright, well, a bit shaky, but not bad, considering you haven't played in a while. I'm sure once you start practicing again, you'll be back up to speed. That's generous. If a whole room bursts out laughing at what I've just done, I wouldn't blame them. But they're not doing that. Let's give it another run. Also, thanks to the 7 people that like the stream as well. Let's give it another run through, shall we? And slow down on that ostinato. Will you? I've mispronounced it, haven't I? He waves a hand towards the oboe and trombone players, grinning. This isn't Flight of the Bumblebee. Now I just need to find another one. Several of the other students burst into loud giggles at this time, and the oboe player is playfully shoved by the guy next to him. A tiny part of me wants to laugh along with them. This club is a lot more relaxed than I initially thought for. However, I'm still completely convinced that this is not the place for me. I think it is. We continue to play for a while, practicing the same piece several times. I'm not entirely sure whether I get any better with each run through or not, but at least I'm still breathing and conscious. This situation hasn't exactly gotten any more comfortable though, and in all honesty, I still can't wait to get out of here. As if reading my thoughts, Kudo-sensei announces something I hadn't expected. Alright, you can break. Now. As though he'd flick a switch, the noise level in the room goes up dramatically. People begin chatting loudly, moving their music stands and instruments into smaller groups. I'm a little confused. I thought music club went on for 2 hours, but it can't have been that long already. Thankfully, Kudo-sensei appears at my side again to inform me of what's going on. The second half of each club meeting is dedicated to free practice. You can get together with a few people and work together, or you can just stick to yourself. It gives everyone a chance to go through their individual parts and get help from others if they need it. It'll be especially beneficial for you, not having a piano at home. I think that's the first time today I've managed to put together a sentence without mucking up a word. I nod, although I feel as though I'm on autopilot somewhat. Even if I'm by myself, I don't think I'd feel comfortable attempting to resharpen my severely dwindled piano skills in the same room as everybody else. I think the contrary would be better though. You take your time and get to know that sheet music better. We have plenty of other pieces to play here in the club, but you might as well start here. He heads back to the seat he'd been sitting in when I first arrived, picking up some large notebooks. I don't know about this. I take a discreet glance at the students around me. Some of them have retrieved large acoustic panels from the back of the room, heaving them into place around their little subgroups. I would love to have some acoustic panels like around the room so that I'm able to talk more confidently and loudly. But I can't do that because, well, I think people would think I'm a bit weird. Ola P, thank you so much. Thank you for great vids to watch before my sleep from Russia with love. Thank you so much. It's also fascinating to see where people come from as well. So thank you so much to Ola P for that wonderful $10 donation. Oh dear, my bad. Me and my pronunciation. So we've broken $100 today, which is wonderful. It dulls the sound a little, enabling each group to hear themselves better. I love some panels too. We had them when I was at music university and I love them. Exactly. It makes the entire situation feel less awkward. Also, there's a lack of noise distortion or disturbances from the outside. Let's see, where was I? But despite this non-seclusion, I still don't feel comfortable enough to practice. I have to admit, I'm still shocked that not a single one of the other club members has tried to talk to me this entire time. Maybe they were informed about your unique situation. My own classmates that I see every day are very used to me by now, and even then, they sometimes break into whispers and glances at my expense. I'd been expecting the same treatment here, but instead everyone just carries on with things as if I'm not in the room. And that's the thing, you know that they're there, but they're not the primary focus of your attention. Your primary focus of your attention should be your instruments and the people you're practicing alongside with. Perhaps Kudo-sensei specifically instructed them all not to interact with me after hearing how bad my anxiety is from Matsumoto-sensei. That doesn't make me feel great. I'm sure they're trying to create a comfortable environment for you. A little dejected, I take another quick look around to see how many sets of eyes are on me. To my surprise and relief, the answer is one less than one. Standing up, my legs a little wobbly, I make my way quietly over to the chair I'd been sitting in at the beginning of the club meeting. They mean similar things. My bag still discarded next to it. Picking up and swinging it up on my shoulders, I cast a cursive glance at Kudo-sensei. He's deeply engrossed in whatever he's doing, twirling a pen absent-mindedly in his hand between scribbles. I should just leave. Excuse me. I've done what I came here to do. I've tried it once, yes. I'd been ducking out early, but I still battled my way through the traumatic ordeal of forcing myself to play alongside the group. But I can't ask any more than that. I take a breath, steadying myself for potential questioning when I go to exit the room. However, as I'm standing quietly gearing myself up, my ears pick up on a new sound. This is the budding of a new friendship forming. Something completely separate from the noise of the club members practicing and talking. Something coming from the opposite direction. A flute sound. It could be. A flute. I didn't notice any flute players in the group before. In fact, it can't be a club member. They're all here in the room with me, and none of them are making that sound. So what is it? Oddly curious and also eager to remove myself from the cacophony of noise, I begin to cautiously follow the sound. Feeling self-conscious, I eye Kudo-sensei as I move towards the other side of the room, but he still doesn't notice me, busy with his notebooks. Leaving the throng of the main room behind, I find myself edging slowly down a corridor that I haven't realized was here before. Peering down it, I catch sight of a door on the left-hand side. I'd guess that it's a store cupboard, but the more I shuffle towards it, the louder the sound of the flute becomes. Has somebody left a CD playing or something? Nah, that's too good of a quality to be a CD. Putting my ear up to the door's cool surface, it becomes clear that the sound is definitely coming from inside it. I feel a little nervous about entering whatever room this is, but at the same time, I already know that everybody in the club is currently in the main room, so there can't be anybody in here. It makes this strange turn of events all the more intriguing. I take hold of the door handle delicately, glancing back down the corridor for a moment, in case someone has noticed that I'm missing and has come looking for me. I'm still alone. Facing forward again, I press the handle down, pushing the door open gently. I hadn't been prepared for the sight on the other side. What could the sight be, ladies and gentlemen? What could it possibly be that is on the other side? Who knows? But, alas, there we go. Somebody playing the flute. Oh. At the sight of another person, my body immediately tenses up, my eyes widening in shock, but after a moment standing there, it appears as though the girl hasn't realized that I'm here. Her back turned to me. She continues to play, the breathy hum of the flute echoing around the room, much louder now that I'm in here with it. What is she doing in here? I thought I'd met all the club members. They do everything as a group. Even I wasn't allowed to sit it out, and I'm not even an official member. What makes her different? I wonder, dear Akane. Bemused and a little rattled, I think about backing up the room slowly. If I can close the door quietly enough, she might not know that I was ever here. There. However, the longer I stand there awkwardly in the doorway, the more the soothing sound of her flute fills my head. And it is what you would call a calming, soothing, peaceful piece of music. It is something that overwhelms your mind and allows you to become one with your senses. It allows any kind of dreary day to soften, and you can feel it soften with your head. It's quite nice. Despite my intent to leave, my legs won't seem to move, so against my better judgment I hover in place. The girl looks almost serene as she plays, her lips pursed in well-practiced poise as she blows gently across the flute's mouthpiece. Perhaps it's just the piece she's playing, but I start to feel a subtle hint of something other than fear, although I can't identify it. Drinking in the peaceful scene. Oh no! Oh dear, drinking in the peaceful scene, I shift my weight to the opposite foot, having relaxed ever so slightly. This proves to be a mistake! Oh no, my man, you're gonna disturb the peaceful scene of this music here. Oh, damn it. Oh, no. Sorry, Haruka. Crap. I leaned against the door too hard and it creaked audibly. The girl gasps quietly as she hears the sound, her head whipping around to look at me. I automatically snap my face away, the rest of my body freshly frozen in alarm. My heart begins to hammer within my chest. Yeah, that's CG. That is like the CG to start off all CG. No, so the CG to start off CGs. Sorry. I manage to spit the word out, but there's no response. Daring myself to look back as quickly as I can, I glance at her. Her expression is panicked as she stares hard at me, seeming thoroughly disturbed, and I instantly know that it's my face that's startling her. No, it's not that. That is the last thing that she is disturbed by. And there's a good reason why she's not disturbed by it. I have to get out of here. Pulling myself together, I stagger backwards into the hallway, the motion of which causes the door to close loudly. Feeling ragged and a little upset, I turn to flee the scene, trying to gather myself and walk as calmly as possible. What was I thinking? The sight of that girl's terrified eyes as she looked at me stays burned into my memory. I must have repulsed her. That's not it! That's not it! She wasn't looking at you because of your mark. Such a delicate scene. Would you like another question? Yes, please. Thank you very much. Like, if you... Anyways. If you knew about her, Akane, the mark on your face is not the thing that she was repulsed by. She was repulsed by because there was a sound behind her. And it's like a knee-jerk reaction. A horrible clenching in my chest, I rejoin the main club room, peeking around the corner to see if the coast is clear. Everything is exactly as I'd left it. The other club members are locked in their mini practice groups, and Kudo-sensei still has his nose in his work. bracing myself and hoping not to get... Let's see. Like, I can't remember exactly where in the school he loves to eat, but it's somewhere outside on the benches. But I can't remember if it's like just outside of the main entrance of the school, or if it's like in one of the other, well, not one of the other, but one of the back entrances of the school. It's like, it's a place where he eats alone almost all the time, but there is like 1 or 2 times where Kakeru eats with Haruka out there. And on one occasion, if I remember correctly, there was only one like set of chopsticks, and it was like like it was kind of points out within the game. I'm thinking like, this is an indirect kiss, isn't it? Bracing myself and hoping not to give anybody else a reason to look at me, I begin my escape, crossing the room as subtly as I can thanks to all the noise. Coupled with my well-honed skills of near invisibility, I make it to the other side without anybody calling out to me. Yeah, Haruka forgot hers and they had to share, exactly. Yeah, it was kind of awkward, but at the same time, it wasn't exactly what you'd call bad. Although in this day and age, when it comes to using things, and with the you-know-what virus around, everybody has to have their own things. Like, it's kind of like a universal rule nowadays. Putting the door open, I feel a great surge of relief wash over my entire body as I step through it. The tension I've been holding all this time rushing out of me. Free once more, there's only one thought running through my head after all that unfamiliarity and fear. I really don't ever want to go back there again. Damn. Home at last. After the day I've had, even the sight of the lounge, which I don't really spend any time in, is welcoming. I stride across the room towards the stairs, but am distracted halfway by something moving in the corner of my vision. Da 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 da. Mother, Kakeru. She startles me slightly as she steps towards me, and I come to a halt, noticing that Dad is behind her, standing up from the couch. I remember that Dad was a bit more patient with their son than the mother is. How was your day? Did you go to the music club? Well, first of all, Mother, I would just like to say that you did not inform me in advance that I need to go to the music club room, okay? I was so disappointed, but I was so heartbroken because you informed my teacher that I was in the situation I needed to break the ice somehow, honestly. I know he wouldn't say that. I should have guessed. Having put me up to the whole club thing somewhat forcibly, I might add, they must be dying to know how it went. It's a shame that I'm going to have to disappoint them. You're not disappointing them. Yeah. I can't muster any more than that. I still feel a bit betrayed, but they would essentially volunteer me to do something they know I would hate. My eyes are fixed on the carpet, but I can still tell that my mother is excited by my response. That's great. How'd it go? I got to say something, but can't seem to prise my mouth open. It's like this even with my parents. We used to be closer, but after I started withdrawing from everybody, I guess I walled myself off from them, too. I don't think it was entirely intentional, but once you start seeing other people as something to be avoided, you kind of just go all the way with it. I feel myself start to squirm slightly under their combined gazes. Used to my long silences by now, they wait patiently for me to answer. I didn't like it. That's my eloquent summary of the whole thing. The only way I can squash my feelings about my uncertain experience of a music club into one inadequate sentence. Damn. Though I still don't look at my parents, I can practically feel their disappointment from here. No, they're not disappointing you. It's the fact that you didn't particularly enjoy it, which is why they've got this sad expression. This is why I love this game. It's because it goes into real life issues with people on a day-to-day basis. It like the circumstances might be different, but the psychological implications it's something that you can empathize with. It's like it's not this grand adventure into another world or something like that. It's a slice of life situation. It's a real life situation if you can feel it in that level. So I've got question 1 and 3 right, or I could say I've got question 3 half right, because I remember it was like a bench that they sat at, but I don't remember the location specifically. The school grounds. It's on the bench near the back playing fields. I think I've looked at it already. Well, you tried it, son, and that's the important thing. That's the harder thing, is initially going into it, because we could have just said we didn't go to the club at all. And then that would be that you didn't even try. I do like that about Dad. He doesn't push things as much as Mom does. Not that she's aggressive or anything, but out of the two of them, I can say that near certainty that this whole music club thing would have been her idea. Every now and then she tried to nudge me gently towards something new, in the hope that it would coax me out of my shell. I could see where she's coming from, but what she doesn't realize is that this shell is impenetrable by now. It's not impenetrable. It's improbable to break, but it's not impossible to break. And I think the word improbable is so important because it's something that is incredibly difficult to break, but it's not impossible to break. Impossible means that you have the complete inability to break out of that cycle. It's like if you tell somebody who's paralyzed from the waist down to just start suddenly walking again, like that's impossible. But somebody who has difficulty in something, that's an improbable thing, not an impossible thing. It might be the most impressive creation of my life. It's not coming off. Even still, it seems as though she maintains a little spark of hope that things will change. Excuse me. It was brave of you to do that, Kakaru. I'm sure you could do it again. I steal a quick glance at her. She's regarding me with an optimistic expression. I don't like it. Because she has faith in you, that's why she's been optimistic. I bet it was nice, playing the piano again after all these years. Matsumoto-sensei told me that the club's advisor is a great teacher. He could probably help you to play even better than you used to. Yeah, he probably could if I was interested. Come on, man. The interest is halfway there. I exhaled deeply, knowing exactly what Mom is trying to hint at. She wants me to keep going, become a proper club member and take it up permanently. She wants you to start getting into something that you can enjoy and break out of your shell gradually. It's not a day 1, completely in your shell, day 2, completely out of your shell. Something of this magnitude takes time. I sense both my parents fidgeting, and the air in the room is getting more and more tense. I need to end this conversation. Before I can pull a sentence together, Dad beats me to it. If you don't want to, it's not the end of the world. But a second try might be easier than the first. That is true. That is definitely true, because the first time is always the hardest. He says it as though presenting a fact, rather than attempting to pressure me into it. Mom nods her head enthusiastically. Definitely. I'm sure once you get used to it, you'll really enjoy it. Although in Kakaru's case it might be, rather than enjoying it, it's a thing that you tolerate. I doubt it. Come on, man. My legs almost start walking on their own, in my desperation to get away from this uncomfortable subject. I've had enough stress today, I don't want any more. Maybe. I leave them with that single unconvincing word. At least she didn't say no. Shuffling away slowly towards the stairs, getting the message, but I don't want to talk about it anymore. They let me go. Nodding, returning to the couch. It doesn't take me long to climb the staircase, though my escape is accompanied by the same guilt that always arises after I've cut my conversations with my parents short. We don't speak much at all nowadays. The talk we just had is the longest one I can remember for God knows how long, and that is progress. It makes me feel even more disappointed. You're not disappointing, and yet I can't change my ways. You can, if you try. little by little to break out of that shell that you've created by yourself. And here's our room. The TV screen flickers in a stream of flashing colours again as I beat the level. Video games are pretty much the only thing I can do in my spare time. Having finished my homework, I started playing straight away, glad to be able to unwind after such a mentally demanding day. I have to admit, though, I still feel a little unsettled, and I know exactly what's causing it. The music club. My parents want me to make friends again, so... Your parents, yes, want you to make friends, but they want you to also come out of that shell of yours. They want you to be able to survive and stand on your own 2 feet. And being part of a music club, I can imagine, is one of the most universally accepting things. Because music is all about your emotion. Your talent, yes, but the tunes that you make are betrayed by your emotions. If you're angry, it's going to be a very, very upbeating, aggressive tone. If you're playing calmly, then you hear the melodic, casual, subtle tone. That didn't even make any sense. Do I want the same thing? Casting my mind back in time, I recall being very small, standing at the edge of a playground, feeling too shy to try to join in with everybody's ball games and social cliches. Back then, I would spend time with the other quiet kids. We'd sit off to the side somewhere, playing handheld games consoles, and talking about our favourite cartoons. I suppose that was friendship. I didn't have sleepovers at each other's houses, and we didn't run around in the streets after school, playing tag or whatever. I was never close with anyone, but our little break time get-together still counted for something. I think my frail sense of optimism was still intact then. I don't remember being too worried about things, assuming I'd ended up with proper friends once I started high school. If anything, the opposite happened. Encouraged by my parents, I'd naively go up to people, introducing myself and trying to join in with their conversations. I figured that some people would be rude about my appearance, as that's just the unfortunate nature of life. But I wasn't expecting people's discomfort around me to be on such a large scale. The amount of bullies increased hugely so, and those that were left didn't really know how to handle me. It seemed as though anyone who was nice to me got tainted with the freak label and teased via association. Yeah, after little school, it's very hit and miss with people. They either like you or hate you, because secondary school in the UK was equivalent of like, I forgot what it's called in America. It's like in the school where you're like between 11 and 17, sort of thing. And that's like the time when people are most prejudiced of you. This meant that most people tended to avoid me like the plague, looking alarmed when I spoke to them and checking over their shoulders in case anyone saw us together. You're not a plague. After a while, it became obvious to me that making friends was something I was no longer entitled to, along with a happy social life. I noticed that my parents were becoming more and more sad too. Every time I came home with a new bruise or crying because of somebody's cutting words, their faces would darken. It was then that I realised that I needed to remove myself from the public eye as much as possible. If I was never around for people to bully, never give friendlier people a chance to reject me, then life would be easier. My parents wouldn't have to witness a failure after failure. I'd just cease to exist in the eyes of my fellow students. So that's what I tried to do, and for the most part I succeeded. I became a background character in the narrative of my own story. Damn. You're not pointless. You exist, but you're not pointless. I think quiet existence, yes, but not pointless. It's the best I can do. I might graduate next year, but that doesn't mean that anything will change for me. I'll be the outcast no matter where I go, and there's no point denying it. That's why I can't join the music club. Sitting here, zoning out with my controller hanging loosely in my hand, I accept that as the truth. Besides, the way that girl had looked at me was awful. She didn't look at you that awful because of your bruising. It was because the noise startled her, that's why. Her horror at my disfigurement had been clear as day, and her eyes are now permanently etched into my brain. Retrieving my consciousness from the realms of deep thought, I fixed my gaze on the TV screen again, starting a new level. I have no choice but to say no. Wow. That's disappointing to hear, Akane. Disappointing, a word that seems to be synonymous with anything I do. It's Thursday and Matsumoto-sensei had collared me before lunch again to ask how the music club meeting went yesterday. I'm doing my best to tell him, but I don't want to be a part of it. Was Kudo not appreciative of your piano playing? No, he was nice. Another question? Yes, please. He was nice. 4 words this time. Somebody shut me up. I meant that too. Kudo-sensei had been considerate about my issues when integrating me into the music club. That wasn't the problem. Well, in that case, I don't see why another trial shouldn't be too difficult. Breaking the ice is the most troublesome part of starting a new endeavor like this, and you've already done it exactly. Though his speech and body language are as stiff and professional as ever, I get the feeling he's trying to encourage me. He is. What do you say, Akane? Would you give it another shot? I'm being ordered around in disguise again, aren't I? I really don't want to agree, but though I want to give him some sort of answer, I find myself stuck, unable to formulate a response. Matsumoto-sensei seems to sense this. Let's see. It was... I'm trying to think of the order within the game. I believe it was Kakeru in which they went to their house first, because Haruka wants to somehow do the same thing but for Akane. I believe that's how it went. So I'm going to guess Kakeru's house. Well, you have the rest of the day to think it over. If I were you, I'd make... Wait. Oh gosh, I'm pondering to myself now because I feel like... Okay. Damn it. I was about to doubt myself and thinking, well, Akane / Kakeru got Haruka a music piece, and Haruka wants to make up to Akane by inviting him to her house. And then from there, it wouldn't make sense because Akane would have to go to the house first in order to know Haruka's favourite piece, which she's trying to look up a musical score in Braille in order to learn. Also remember that the little music box was how Akane learned about the music piece itself. Like, I think it was like a symbol or something that was on it, or a bit of text on it. He nods awkwardly, seeming to want to express some sort of reassurance towards me, though he's not very eloquent at it. I don't think a hug is in his physical vocabulary, and I don't think it's needed as well. Not that I want one. I bow slightly in response, being over our conversation reminding me urgently of my number one objective. Get away from everybody. Time for lunch. You can do it. I've made a decision. Lunchtime had given me some time to ponder Matsumoto-sensei's words, and I realized 2 things. Number 1, I still don't want to be in the music club. Number 2, it would be rude of me to just disappear without talking to Kudo-sensei first. Even if he hadn't noticed me slinking out of the room early, he would have realized by the end of the club that I was no longer there. I feel a pain of guilt, knowing how spineless that was. It was not. Not that I could help it. I had to get out. But Kudo-sensei still deserves an explanation. I might be Mr. Invisible, you're not invisible. But I still have enough of a conscience... I was about to say conscious? to realise that if I'm not going to join his club, I should tell him in person. I'm not exactly enthralled about it, but if it'll get this thing over and done with, then I'll do it. Then I never have to go back there again. That's the thought that fills my head as I pack my things away, conscious I'm saying the same word twice and they've both got different spellings to it. That the last class of the day is about to be over. Donning my backpack, I wait impatiently for the bell as always. As soon as it rings, I dart towards the door, exiting to the corridor before anybody else has fully left their seat. It's either you go out there very quickly or wait for everybody else to leave. There's no middle ground. Empty hallways. That's how I like it. I stride purposefully towards the music club room, despite my fluttering nerves. I just want to put an end to this, and have things go back to the way they were before. Damn, man. My legs, trained by now to carry me as swiftly as possible, get me to a club room in no time. I'm not even sure Kudo-sensei will be here yet. After hesitating for a moment, I swallow my fear and push on the door. Hello. I'm lucky. Akane, you almost beat me here. He regards me with a casual smile. He really is the polar opposite of Matsumo-sensei. The fact that only the two of us are currently in the room gives me the opportunity I need to talk to him. It'll be much better with less people around. Sensei? Damn it, just spit out Kakeru, isn't that hard? Sorry for yesterday. His expression changes a little once I say this. Ah yes, I wondered where you'd gone for a moment. Cringe. Sorry, Sensei, I can't help being a coward. Ah, so he did indeed notice Akane leaving. She didn't scare you too much, did she? She? The girl in the back room? How does he know about that? Because she is, and at the same time she isn't part of the music club. I saw that you explored the other room. I probably should have warned you about her. So he noticed me creeping around after all. He doesn't seem mad though. If anything, he looks a little apologetic. I was in two minds as to whether to introduce you or not. It could have been easier to go down that route. He seems to muse this aloud to himself, as opposed to telling it to me. However, he pulls himself together quickly. Fujiwara Haruka is something of a special case. She hasn't joined the group sessions, but she practices the flute by herself. That's not really in the rules of the club, but... His mouth twists into a pitiful frown. We give her the benefit of the doubt being disabled and all. This new information takes me by surprise. I haven't noticed anything unusual about the girl, although I suppose it didn't look properly. I was more occupied with her flute playing, and being terrified. Kudo-sensei almost looks amused for a second. I bet you gave her a bit of a shock barging in there. She tends to get flustered around new people. That part of the sentence I can empathise with wholeheartedly, but it's the last part that throws me for a loop. Considering that she's blind. Now that is a new piece of information for you, Akane, because now you see that your assumption of why Haruka was gobsmacked when you appeared isn't something to do with your birth defect, or your facial defect, or whatever you want to call it. Blind? I hear the door open behind me as a gaggle of club members enter noisily. It startles me, but at the same time, the impact is dampened slightly by my state of contemplation. That girl who stared at me as though she had seen the devil incarnate was blind? It really takes me a moment to wrap my head around what Kudo-sensei had told me, as if knowing exactly what I'm thinking. He moves his attention away from me momentarily, greeting the other students arriving. She really hadn't seen me at all. The thought is strangely jarring, as her horrified expression had seemed to suggest she was perfectly capable of seeing the monstrosity that had been in front of her. You're not a monstrosity. However, the more I think about it, the more I can correlate it to my own feelings. I can't stand meeting new people. I just panic. It must have been scary for her to have somebody burst into the room and then realise she didn't know the person after hearing them speak. I must have really spooked her. You're definitely an understanding person, Akane. I almost laugh aloud at the idea that I could scare someone more than they could scare me. Miracles are possible after all. That's not even a miracle. That's a miracle of the opposite spectrum. Before I could continue down this path of thought, Kudo-sensei speaks again, rousing me back to a room. Anyway, that's that. I'm sure there's no real harm done. He peers across the room, counting ahead to the students present, and as I take a quick glance myself, I almost jump at the sight of them all. Geez, the room filled up fast. Seeming satisfied, Kudo-sensei turns back to me with a smile. Right. Seeing as everyone's just about here, let's get started, shall we? For God's sake. I got so wrapped up thinking about what he told me that I haven't even had a chance to tell him that I don't want to be in a club anymore. For a moment I considered going ahead with my bad news, but seeing Kudo-sensei encouraging expression coupled with how awkward I feel standing at the front instead of sitting at the piano, I grudgingly relent. I didn't even read half of those words correctly. Alright, I'll try it one more time. I nod briefly, swiveling to make my way skittishly across the room and avoiding eye contact with everyone around me. I can't say that taking up the piano stool feels any more comfortable than it had yesterday, but I sit down anyway. Sigh quietly, I resign myself to another 2 hours of torture. 2 hours of practice, my man. And then... Alright, that's free practice, everyone. Be sure to work on your timekeeping as always. Chatter breaks out in the room, and a flurry of movement erupts as people splinter off into their usual practice groups. Not a part of any of them. I continue to sit despondently at the piano. Excuse me. It had been basically the same as yesterday. I struggled to stumble my way through the piece, and hadn't displayed a shred of improvement. Improvement? Come on, you have improved, my man. For example, yesterday morning, you probably wouldn't even do any of this on your own whim. Now I understand why this free practice period is so important. It gives people a chance to go through their individual parts at length, rehearsing as much as they need in order to keep getting better at their instrument. For someone like me, who doesn't have access to a piano outside of this club, it's invaluable. I'm still not wanting to come back for another club meeting, but for the remainder of this one, I might as well at least look like I'm trying to practice. Placing my hands back onto the keys, I read the sheet music again, trying to get my playing more fluid. However, it's proving to be difficult, not only because I'm still incredibly self-conscious about practicing in a room full of musicians that are better than me, but also because I can't get something out of my head. That girl. That's something that is quite common amongst people, is that once they have something in mind, they can't get that thing out of them. Since we're nearing the end of the stream, shall I ask one last question and then reveal the prize? Yes, please! Let's see, where was I in this sentence? I really didn't see any of the information that Kudo-sensei told me coming. Not only is it surprised to learn about her disability, but I also feel terrible for essentially terrifying a poor blind girl with my clumsiness. I'm such an idiot. Trying to shake it off, I continue to paw at the piano distractedly, until footsteps tell me that Kudo-sensei is approaching. Tough, isn't it, Akane? Getting to know a new piece. I nod, my gaze at his feet rather than his face. You can always ask any of the other club members for help. They don't bite. Well, I haven't been bitten yet anyway. Thanks. That last bit of a sentence was not needed. He grins at his own joke and I almost join in. Although... Where does Kakeru take Haruka to show her the real Venus piece? Now, I think I'm going to get this one wrong, but it was the library. Not the school's library, but it's kind of like a library where you can purchase music pieces. And it was also a piece in which Kakeru brought for Haruka in braille form. Oh. Yeah, it is Kakeru take Haruka, so it's the protagonist taking Haruka somewheres. Like, if... I don't know why I thought in my head, but if the question was the other way around, then it would be the theatre, but not in this case. So I'm thinking it was that library in which the both of them went to for the very first time of being outside the school, not in their school uniforms, so to speak. I think I got that one wrong, though. He looks thoughtful for a second. I can't figure out what he's contemplating. Thankfully, I don't have to wait long to find out. Go and introduce yourself to Fujiwara. He seems serious about it, and I'm taken aback by the sudden suggestion. Okay, the end of this string... Yes, it was the city bookstore. I consider that correct. I knew it was some kind of bookstore, but I didn't, like, say it correctly enough. Yeah, city bookstore. Because you could also say that the school's library would also be a suggestion, but that was where Haruka helped Akane pick up on a few different pieces. Especially with the piece that he was practicing for the class. I know that being in a big room like this is probably a bit uncomfortable for you. Fujiwara's the same. Have a chat with her. I bet you two would have a lot in common. So what I was about to say is that I'm going to end this stream when we finish talking with Haruka, because I know it's coming up to 9:30 where I am, but I'm going to see this out until the end of the next scene. Other than the anxiety around people, and also the fact I really enjoy this game, I don't think I can relate much to a blind girl who somehow plays the flute even more effectively than I can play hide and seek for the rest of the world, and I'm damn good at that. Nevertheless, Kudo-sensei continues to push the point. I don't mind if you take things slowly, Akane. Practice is important, but you need to familiarize yourself with things first. If talking to someone you might feel more comfortable around first will help you put more ease here, then go for it. He's a nice guy. Perhaps it's the musician in him, or perhaps it's the person in him. He's more in touch with emotions and deep concepts and all that stuff artsy people are supposed to be good at. At first, I'm not... music is a form of art. I'm not sure what to say to his suggestion, but like cooking is a form of art. But as the unsettling image of the girl's scared expression comes up in my mind again, I realise I should at least say sorry for doing that to her. My second apology of the day, I'm doing a great job. Cautiously, I nod at Kudo-sensei, indicating that I'll take him up on it. He seems satisfied, smiling and stepping backwards to give me room to stand up. Just take it easy today. We could start getting down to some proper work next time. He turns away, heading across to talk to a group of students, leaving me to internally thank him for being so understanding. It's awkward to just stand up and leave the room in the middle of free practice, but at least this time I've been granted permission. As I enter the quiet of the hallway, the sounds of the other musicians muffled by the walls, I make my way hesitantly towards the door of the other room. This feels very wrong in a number of ways, and I definitely don't feel confident about it at all. I hope she can forgive me for yesterday. I don't feel she has taken any ill will towards you whatsoever. The sound of her flute catches my ear again. She's practicing the same piece as before. Realizing that I should probably announce my presence before I go strutting in there this time, I raise my hand and knock timidly on the door. Yeah, knock quietly. Not like a boom 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 boom. Like, I think... Okay, so who's just donated $10 again? Hey! Thank you so much. Thank you, Flair, for playing my game once again and for supporting a great cause. Here's my small contribution. Hope it helps. Thank you so much, Venus Improbable Dream. Thank you so much for donating that kind donation, even though I didn't answer all of your questions correctly. Oh dear, it's not a lot, but it's something. Yes, every donation counts, whether it's $1, $10, $100, whatever you think is appropriate. Every single donation, no matter how big or small, counts. Because we all have our own different financial situations. So let's see. Oh, I'm still not... I pressed enter and it somehow made my YouTube preview page go down. And she might not have said anything in response, but she definitely heard that. Taking a large breath, I opened the door. The light in the room might be bright, but thanks to its small size and near empty state, it feels slightly less intimidating. I let the door close behind me, blocking out most of the sounds produced by the other club members. Just me and her. Hi, it's me. She continues to look in my direction, bewildered. From yesterday. The slight shift in her expression suggests that she knows what I'm talking about, but her body stays just as rigid as mine. I take a proper glance at her. Her eye line meets my chest, not really looking at me, but aware of my general position in the room. That's when the revelation hits me again. She can't see your face, Kakaru. The entire reason for my social anxiety is not applicable to the situation. It's an impossibility. I almost don't believe it. Now, near the end of the game, he actually opened up to the main reason why the friendship with Haruka is less awkward than other people. It's the fact that she can't see him, so therefore she doesn't even know of his condition. But I think what was most impressive from Haruka is that she didn't take that to heart, as in like, the only reason why I formed a friendship with you was because you're blind, sort of thing. It was because of the fact of the lack of sight that she has of him that makes it aware to Kakaru that it's an impossibility for Haruka to see his condition if she can't see at all. It's not the fact that she can't see, which is a positive thing, but it's like it's a barrier that's already been taken down for Akane to form a friendship with someone. It takes me a moment, but after hammering it into my head a few times, I managed to find a tiny scrap of confidence from the fact and open my mouth to speak again. Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. Feeling as though I've momentarily turned into a different person, I dare to look at her in the eyes for just a moment. Her gaze softens a little. That's okay. The soft sound of her voice is so delicate, I barely hear her. We both stand there for a moment, a tremendous amount of awkwardness hanging in the air between us. Haruka is a very understanding person, would have known that Kakaru didn't mean anything rude against her by that. Exactly, yeah. It seems as though I'm just about forgiven for my trespassing though, so I muster up the courage to speak again. I joined the club yesterday. Well, that's not entirely true from my perspective. I was kind of forced into coming. She takes a moment to process the information before replying. Do you play the piano? How does she... Of course she'll have been overhearing the rest of it. Yes, it's because of a lack of piano music from before, but because he entered the phrase, she must have pieced together that, Akane or Kakaru does play the piano, or roughly plays the piano from his perception. She'll have been overhearing the rest of the club's practices for months since the last pianist left. The sudden reappearance of its sound would have given it away. Yeah, she nods. Sorry if I was... She struggles with her words before cutting herself off, evidently unable to express herself properly. I know exactly how that feels. She looks a little regretful before she manages to speak again. I don't get visitors here. I realise that she's referring to how she'd look at me yesterday, knowing that it was simply a fear of being exposed to a random person and not of my appearance. I don't feel mad at all. No, it was my fault. My admission still doesn't alter the guilt on her face, and it makes me feel bad for her. Thinking about our similarities, I force myself to keep talking, trying to demonstrate some common ground. Actually, I'm kind of jealous that you practice in here. I don't like crowds. I haven't spoken this much in years. It's making me a bit dizzy. It's making my jaws go a little bit haywire. There isn't meant to be a stab, by the way. After averting my eyes to steady myself, I look up again. She clasps her hands around her flute, looking thoughtful. Me neither. I feel as though I don't like crowds is a bit of an understatement, so I awkwardly try to explain myself a little further, although it's not exactly nice to talk about. I try to avoid people. They make me nervous. God, I sound like such a baby. Looking away again, my eyes wandered to the back wall of the room. There's another piano in there, although this one is brown and looks a bit older. Leaning against the side of it, I spot what must be the girl's cane, the long stick that helps her with navigation. Things must be very difficult for her. Huh. It takes me a second to realise that the tiny voice she just emitted was actually a very timid laugh. When I look at her, she seems to have relaxed a little, smiling ever so slightly. I'm the same. I feel my own breath rush out of me in something resembling relief, and the feeling is utterly odd to me. How am I this calm right now? Does the fact that she can't see what I'm insecure about really change me this much? And again, it's not a malicious thing. It's not like you're taking advantage of someone else's blindness in order to be friends with them because they can't see your... hemangioma. I had to look up in the chat for that one. Well, I'm not exactly calm, but still, this would be easier if I felt around anyone for a long time. So, welcome to the stream, Galmiko. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're not late, you arrived in style. This would be easier if I felt around anyone for a long time. It's so unfamiliar, but I'm not even sure if I like it or not. As stupid as that sounds. Perfectly pronounced. However, it seems as though my admission of my anxiety around people has struck a chord with her. Could it say I was right? We do have similarities. I suddenly realise I've committed another social blunder. I haven't introduced myself. I'm Akane, by the way. Akane Kakuru. I feel my face begin to flush with heat. I don't think I've said my own name aloud once since I started this school. She nods in recognition. I'm Fujiwara Haruka. She grips her flute a little tighter again, seeming to be thinking about something. It's not so bad now. We're not really strangers anymore. Still largely strangers, but not complete strangers. She blushes slightly as she says this, her face tilting towards the ground, and I feel myself wanting to smile internally at her somewhat innocent childlike point. No, I guess we're not. The conversation runs dry, and I peek at the clock on the wall, conscious that I must be taking up a lot of Haruka's time when she could be practicing. I should probably let you play. She glances towards her instrument, almost as though she'd forgotten about it before nodding in agreement. I reach for the door, pulling it open gently. See you. Despite the fact that she can't see it, I bow my head, probably in one last apology for encroaching her personal space. Just as I'm stepping through the doorway, the sound of her voice reaches my ears again. I pause, looking back into the room. For a moment she doesn't speak, and clumsily I realise she probably isn't sure that I'm still there or not. Yes? It seems like the right move, as she relaxes a little at my voice, though fidgets with her flute before continuing. If he wants to talk again... Her expression grows nervous as she pauses, but after a second she regains her focus. I wouldn't mind. The word catches me off guard. This second encounter has been thoroughly awkward and embarrassing, but amongst it all there is something that made me feel like being around her is just that little bit less uncomfortable than others. Still unsure of how I feel and what I'm really saying by it, I find myself replying with a single word. Okay. That's recognition in itself. Okay, folks, that's the scene. Well, that's that scene done and over with, and I am really happy for revisiting this game. Even though it's just a small snippet of the game itself, I have thoroughly enjoyed coming back to this game. Like the memories of playing this game once again, and all of the different things that happen within the future as well, the different possibilities. Like there's 2 different possibilities in this game, and they conjure off from 2 different points. or one point that spurs off into two different directions, and then from those two different directions it could end up with a good end or a bad end, and those bad ends in some ways have different consequences to them. But if you remember from my time looking through Bad End 2, man, that put me in such a confused place. But at the same time, I was so heartbroken for both characters. Like, you would think that the separation of a friendship in the first Bad End is worse than the second one, but the second one was... The second one was with Haruka still thinking that Akane would be able to pull through despite the incredibly crushing feeling that Akane felt at that point in the game. Ah, thank you for playing again. You've been a strong supporter from the start, and I really value everything you do on YouTube. I wish the best for you in the future, and I'll always support you. Thank you. Like, in my times doing YouTube videos and streams, like, sometimes seeing words, and as, like, I know words on screens can sometimes feel like, well, they're just words, but just seeing that being directed to you is so heartwarming. And Bad End 2 of this game was, well, probably the most I've been in tears with out of any game, because of how the bad end came about. It was like, you've lost every kind of confidence you've had, but the person you thought you've let down the most still believes in you. This didn't mean to be sad in any ways, but it's just reliving that moment. I didn't mean to put you in credit, so... I didn't put you in... Wait, did you really? You must have had, like... I must have gone through... Oh gosh, now I feel embarrassed. Like, I think I remembered you doing that, but I can't quite remember that. Like, it must have been like from my first time playing this game. It's like, wait, why am I here? Okay. I did put the correct game link in the description of this like stream. So anyways, folks, I'm going to end the stream off here before I become too upset of my own memories of reliving the powerfully emotional moments of this game. Thanks again for the stream, good stuff. Thank you so much again for coming along, MKKM. You've been a constant viewer of mine throughout these streams and possibly videos too. It's like you said about Kakeru's parents either. No good parent would consider their child a disappointment. I'd never consider you a disappointment. Damn. Thank you. That caught me off guard there, I'm not gonna lie. Like, with people who are angry, it's nothing that you've done wrong, but when it feels like you've been a disappointment to someone, it feels bad. Like, being a disappointment feels really bad, because it feels like you should have done something that you didn't do, but you didn't do it, so therefore you're that. But then I realised at the end of the day that, well, we all have different strengths and weaknesses. So, trust me, you're great and worth people's time. I'll stop making you cry. It was largely because of reliving the memories of the game. It was nothing directly from the developer of the game itself that's making me cry. It's the memories that you make in the game that are making me cry. So therefore, you've got to hold yourself responsible for that one. I'm kidding. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves.